And yes, exciting news for the Raptors and that. Today we're going to talk about, I think, one of the most highly contested topics in our industry next to time management would be financial management. So one of the things I know, and you're not alone if you're on this call this morning, is that the biggest challenge for most of us in business and being entrepreneurs is that I have to wear the CEO hat and be the leader of the organization of my business. And then I have to run the COO hat and be the guy out there kissing and hugging and talking to the people and everything else and promoting. And then I've also got to be the financial CFO of the business and it's challenge for most agents and most entrepreneurs is that there's just so many hats to wear in this industry, in this business, where you have to change these roles. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, I am a student of financial management and a prodigy that was grateful. I'm going to share some of my lessons that I learned from, believe it or not, my dad growing up in this business and doing this real estate business and becoming a student of financial management. And I can tell you this, with some of the things I'm going to share with you today, you can change your financial picture and turn it around with just some of these topics and some of these tips today. So I'm hoping that you're going to get a nugget or two that's going to make a difference in the financial side of your business and your lives and that today and help you move forward. But I'm going to give a little bit of background and share with you some interesting numbers and some stats and that with you guys in regards to the finances. So a lot of people don't know this, but did you know that in the United States, $2 billion a year is spent just on in the US downloading cell phone ringtones every year. $2 billion on cell phone ringtones downloading. And only 40% of North Americans have ever checked or reviewed their credit standings or their credit scores, right? So a lot of people have no idea where they are positionally wise with their scores and their beacon scores and their credit scores and that, and no idea where their situation is credit wise or things like that. And again, we don't, if I don't know, then it doesn't scare me and it doesn't hurt me. So I think most people just don't want to look at that and don't want to pay attention to it. I'll be honest with you guys. When I started in real estate, I was 21 years old. True story. I bought a tennis racket on a Woodward's shopping center credit card in my 17th, 18th year of school, and I was in university to impress a girl to play tennis with her. I didn't pay that $75 tennis racket off on my credit card, and I totally screwed up my credit rating, and that over a tennis racket and a date with a girl in university. And starting off in real estate, I didn't have great credit. So I had to literally at 21, starting on real estate, figure out how I could reestablish my credit and turn my credit around, and that because I didn't pay any attention to little things like paying your credit cards and things like that and doing those things and being responsible. Next nugget is that only 40% of North Americans have ever even used a household budget. I'm here to tell you that the secret to success in 21 years and counting of marriage is that my wife and I don't fight about money because we've got it dialed in. We know exactly where it's going, how it's going, where it's going, and that we're definitely good students when it comes to our finances and that. And having a budget has saved us from many stressful conversations and arguments and things like that. So budgets, I mean, most agents don't even think about them. Most couples and most people don't think about them. I can tell you that to this day, every year we sit down and look at what's going, where it's going, how it's going, and we look at that on an annual basis. And it's helped our relationship and our family huge. 40% of North Americans don't pay their credit card balances every month. Not surprising, I'm sure, to most people in that. They aren't making any money off of me. I use them, but they don't make money off of me. And we're going to talk about the credit cards and the credit card balances and that in the future. More stats. 1 in 7 North Americans have 7 to 10 credit cards at a maxed out position. 7 to 10. Average North American is spending, including us in Canada, 119% of what they're earning each month. We're outspending what we're earning. Billions of equity are being taken out of homes. In 2004, 139 billion. In 2005, 450 billion. 2006, 620 billion. In 2015, about 830. So billions and billions of dollars being pulled out. Our homes almost become a debit machine and an equity machine and a debit card. And that money is used, according to the stats, 35% for home improvements, which is good for us in our industry. 16% for miscellaneous purchases. The reality of it, the majority of it was used for debt consolidation, paying off and consolidating and packaging up existing debt and too much debt and that. So that's where you can see that Houston, we got a problem. North Americans, and true story, if you agree with me, is spending money that they don't have on things that we don't need to impress people that we don't even know. We hear this time and time again, trying to keep up with the Joneses and things like that, and we're going to talk about that in that. So, future question for me is there a problem? Absolutely, there's a problem. Can you see how when we're spending that much money on ringtones and carrying credit card balances at max positions at 7 and 10 and that, you can see how easy it is to be able to unable to reach financial prosperity, and why financial problems is a huge problem for most people and a lot of people in real estate. A lot of times we'll see top producers and they're spending out of their means and they're going bankrupt in that, and then they're on panels saying, hey, be just like me, overspend what you're making, and your expenses are too high, and go bankrupt, and it's okay, and it's okay to be on that panel. You guys, profit and is the key, and expense management is the key. It's the gross income is not the goal here. It's what you take home and what you bring home and what you put in your pocket. Would you agree? That's the essence of success, is what you're saving, what you're putting in your pocket, what you're bringing home, not what we're grossing. A lot of times agents' grosses are gross because they're spending more than what they're actually making, and they're behind the eight ball all the time, robbing from Peter to pay Paul to try and keep up and battle on a daily basis in there, and the battle's real. So one of the greatest, and I don't know if anybody in the room has read this, but greatest resources I've ever come across was a mentor of mine asked me to read this book, The Richest Man in Babylon. And so a couple of things. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to be rich or get rich easier, or that they're destined for financial struggles or things like that? Is there a difference in their education? No. Is there a difference in their intelligence? No. Is there a difference in their timing, skills, work habits? No. At the end of the day, the shocking answer is that they have become good managers of money. The secret to management and managing financial success is discipline and managing it respectfully and responsibly. So I'm going to share some of these laws of this book for you today that have helped me from a financial standpoint and helped me learn lessons the hard way and the good way to be able to if you follow these books and you follow this, I can guarantee that anybody in this call could be a millionaire in 10 years and a multimillionaire in 20 years with the statistics and with these knowledge and with these ideas and these tips. It's possible. It's truly possible, and it can be done. Okay? First things first. T. Harv Eker had a great book, The Millionaire Mind, and it talked about what my blueprint is and what my own beliefs are about money. And you hear this over and over again, they took advantage of people, and money doesn't grow on trees, and all your beliefs and things like that. Take a second right now and think about, what have you heard about money? What have you been told about money? What do you believe about money? And what are the things that have been programmed, and what is your blueprint about money? Okay? It's not enough to be in the right place at the right time, to have to be the right person in the right place at the right time. Okay? So how are you rating yourself? How do you value and rate yourself? How do others in the real estate world rate you? And would you agree with me? The value that you're receiving and what you're earning right now is the same value you perceive in yourself. Would you agree? Right? If you don't buy yourself, then other people aren't going to buy you either, right? Does that make that fair comment? And what you believe you deserve financially is what you get, right? And some of the times you have to look at it and go, Napoleon Hill said this, that poverty is purely a state of mind and nothing else. So I'm going to ask yourself, do you need to change your blueprint? Do you need to change what you've heard? Do you need to change what you think, what you've believed to be true about you and money, or your parents, or your upbringing and things like that? I needed to do some reprogramming. I needed to do some changes and things like that. And it's one of those things that you hear time and time again, and you don't take for granted. You don't really sit down and think about, what did I hear? What do I believe about money? What are my thoughts? What are my blueprints about money and that? So I'll challenge you, first thing first, sit down and really think about what you've heard, believe, and what your blueprint is about money. That's the first step. And be aware of that and see if you can change those blueprints, okay? Next thing, the law of income. The law of income says that you will be paid in direct proportion to the value you deliver according to your marketplace. So if you are earning lots in real estate, it is purely in direct proportion to the value you are delivering to people in the real estate world, in the marketplace, okay? And so if you're not delivering enough value and you're not perceived as delivering enough value, then you're not earning that income, okay? And that's purely a law. Research shows that 80% of individuals will never be financially free in the way they would like to be, If you want to change those fruits, you've got to change your roots. So you know what? It sums it up brilliantly. Your financial destiny is determined by your own money blueprint. Change that blueprint, change those roots, you change the fruits, right? And I love that quote of changing those roots and you'll change your fruits, and what you believe in, what you're going to have there, and understand that the value you bring in real estate and what you bring to other people in the community of Dublin and other areas, and that is direct proportion of what you're going to earn in this business, okay? And that's purely a universal law and a universal principle called the law of income. Now, another one, the law of paying you first. So when I started with my father, Ralph Webb, bless him, he did one thing, and I thought was crazy and stupid and a terrible idea. And that was, he set it up so that my dad and I, we took out of our real estate business, we paid ourselves the exact same amount of money every single month. And I still, to this day, 27 years later in this real estate business, I still pay myself first. So I write myself checks throughout my whole entire career every 2 weeks. Let me ask you a question. If you wrote yourself a check every 2 weeks and you brought that home to your significant other, would that change some of your guys' lives, yes or no? Right? Most people in our spouses think we do real estate pro bono. Would you agree? And that, like, when is the money coming this way instead of the money going that way, right? The other direction in that. So one of the things we did was we established and paid ourselves every 2 weeks all of our career. So I'm going to ask yourselves, the law of paying yourself first is so important. And so the actual perception of receiving a check and taking a check home, the perception of seeing you getting an income, whether it's low or small, in that every 2 weeks, what would that do for your self-worth? What would that do for your self-consciousness? What would that do for your value, your energy, your mindset in that? And reality is that we wrote 2 checks at the beginning of every month, and we wrote a check for ourselves personally, and then we wrote a check for our business costs and expenses up front. So 2 checks written physically at the beginning of the month, then our business expenses were taken care of, our personal expenses were taken care of. We got those checks, and now we were free to be able to do whatever we wanted in the month and go out doing what we're doing best, and we weren't sitting there with that burden on the back of our mind. Klassen refers to this in George Klassen's book. He refers to it as starting the purse to fattening. So he uses a story of the humble egg merchant, where the egg merchant puts 10 eggs in the basket each morning and takes out 9 by the evening. Eventually, he has an egg left over, and the eggs grow, and they grow a bit. So the reality is that we're going to pay ourselves, take that 1 egg for ourselves, and use the other 9 eggs. And we're going to talk about that rule moving forward. Create a second account that's difficult to access, so that 1 egg sits in it. Create multiple accounts, and so those other eggs can sit in it. And we're going to talk about the 70-10-10 rule coming up in a minute here as well. So pay yourself first. I can tell you this. It made my marriage easier when I was bringing a check home every 2 weeks. It made my mindset happier, and I felt like I was being paid what I was worth every 2 weeks. And then at the end of the year, we had monies left over in the business, and then we were able to bonus ourselves or do something with that. But having the ability to pay yourself first and doing that on a consistent basis, I can tell you that at first I argued with my dad all the time, look at the money we have in the business, why don't we pay ourselves more in that? And we disciplined ourselves to live a certain level and a certain paycheck every 2 weeks. And yes, as I'm a family and a father of 5, did that number increase as the years went on? Oh yeah. My number in that check that I pay myself got higher with family of 5, obviously, but I still use that same principle of paying myself first and paying myself on the first and every 2 weeks afterwards of each month in the business, okay? Huge game changer and a huge help for me. Budgeting, taking control of that. Once a year, Tina and I will sit down, we'll look at it, where it's going, how it's going. I can tell you exactly how much money to the penny we spend. Thank you to my wife who's in the law firm business and that knows how to do this. But we know exactly where it's going. And we look at each other and we say, we want to get rid of that. Do we want to change that? Do we want to reduce that? And are we getting a good value for that expenditure? And where is it going and how it's being spent? It takes a bit of time to do this, but if you did this once a year, it would be huge. Now, journaling it and tracking it, we use our bank statements to journal and track those things to do that. And then one thing I'll do every 2 years, and my wife hates this, but I love this. I don't know if you guys like doing this yourselves. I love calling our service providers and asking them if they can do better. So I'm calling the cable guys, all the different companies that I'm always asking them every 2 years, is that the best you can do? Is that the best you can do? And I'm taking every penny prisoner. My wife's like, oh my gosh, Wade, you sat on the phone with the phone company for 2.5 hours just to chisel them down on your cell phone bill. And I'm like, yes, I did. Right. And I love doing that and being a budget bully and taking every penny prisoner. That is a huge, huge important strategy for most money managers, is that you look at it and go, we are spending this on that, or we're spending that on that, and oh, we got to control that, or we're paying this and that. And so budgeting and looking at those numbers, and every once in a while asking if that's the best you can do, another huge important thing that's been hugely effective for us and all the years, is using that budget, knowing where it's going, how much it's going, where it's going, and then taking prisoner on it and asking if that's the best you can do every 2 years minimum. Okay? Any questions on the laws and anything so far on the budgeting side of things, or paying ourselves first on those two principles, you guys? Any questions?
No.
No? Good? All right. Next one. So a home budget. So how many, I'm going to challenge you guys, go home, sit down, figure out what your non-negotiable expenses are. Action step for you. Go home and figure out and determine what your non-negotiable monthly expenses are, okay? And write them down. And go through it with your spouse, or go through it with yourself. Now, next thing I want you to do is go through your non-negotiable business expenses. So write out your non-negotiable personal expenses, your non-negotiable business expenses, and figure out what those monthly costs are, guys. Because you cannot do a business plan and you cannot figure out what your income goal is, because your income goal is based on what your personal nut is, your business nut is, plus profit equals your business goal and your gross income goal for your business and planning in that, okay? And for some of us, the home budget, I get it. You don't want to know. If I don't know, Wade, it's just much easier to know. I don't want to know how much we're burning through and how much we're spending. I'm absolutely terrified of that. But if you don't do that, then you're never going to be able to take control of money, right? Money's going to continue to control you instead of you controlling the money. Our budget helps us control the money. Our budget, business-wise, personal-wise, and then I know what I need to go out, and I know what my income goal is in my business model, and I'm very, very clear that in my business model, when I was selling on a sales percent, I was 7 transactions a month minimum to keep everybody on the team accustomed to the lifestyle and the family accustomed to the lifestyle and that. So I didn't let my budgets dictate what I earned. I dictated what I was going to earn based on taking care of those budgets and what I wanted to put in my lifestyle and in the profit center things. A business goal for you guys, I would say if you're spending more than 33% on expenses in your business model, you're too high. So anything under 33% of expense is great. And anything too less than that, you guys, are going to say you're not investing enough back in your business. So quick note here, 33% of your income or 33% of your expenses on your income annually is about where you're spending enough and you're not spending too little, okay? So if you're in that 23 to 25 to 33% range of income expense on your business model based on what you're earning, I think you're running a good business and a good profitable business model, okay? Next thing, financial system. So how many of us have our personal banking and our business banking completely separate? So I tell all agents, you got to separate the two. Literally, I have separated the two physically. I am at one lending institution with personal, and I'm at another lending institution with my real estate business side of things. I wasn't trying to hide it from Tina about what I was making in real estate and what was happening. I just needed to make sure that those two were completely separate. We're business owners. Business is business. Personal is personal. You don't mix your home and your personal with the business, especially if your business goes under or goes down. So do not jeopardize your personal world with your business world and interconnect them. So set up 2 different banking systems and 2 different banking institutions. So I'm going to say personal banking, set it up separately. Business banking, set it up. Have personal checking, business checking. Have business credit cards, business debit cards separate. Everything is separated and completely separate. And here in my neck of the woods, my lending institution personally is HSBC, and my business institution is RBC. The nice part about it is that they're within reach of my office, within a screenshot of it, and so I can go to it, but I physically have them separated and set it up differently and separately, okay? The other thing I'll recommend for me, what I love to do, is I'll have a business credit card, and I prefer business credit cards that have the annual 2-for-1s. I'm a traveling junkie, so my WestJet credit card has a 2-for-1. My Alaska credit card has a 2-for-1. Those honestly are our winter holiday for family and our spring break holiday for family that allow us to go 2-for-1 with the companions and that on the credit cards, plus the points. So obviously I'm trying to put through as many business expenses on those credit cards, those business credit cards, to get points to travel and reward myself at the end of the year. But again, my credit card balances are paid off every single month. I'm not carrying balances. I'm using the cards to rack up the travel points to get the 2-for-1 annual companions and that. I'm not using it any other reason than to have them, to use them to generate that and to pay them off and pay the balances monthly. Don't carrying balances, okay? Business debit cards. I use my business debit card, my business credit card, so that I have my paperwork. If you're not organized, now my paperwork is on all my my forms and all my statements every month, so it's easy for me for and purposes of tracking in that and having that set up in that. So a couple of tips from you from the financial side of things and how to set it up. I would also encourage everybody on the phone and the call here today is to find and establish yourselves a business line of credit. A business line of credit. Most agents new to the business don't know this, but most veterans, they're using their business line of credit in the slower winter months. Let's be honest. I use it when agents, as a broker, when the agent's business slows down in the winter, so does the broker's business. So cash flow is always a problem over the winter months. The line of credit with business allows me to still write checks to take home and to keep the home life going over the winter. And then when the spring market kicks in, I pay down that business line of credit and pay it off immediately in the spring and summer and get ourselves back into financial position. So for those of you who wonder how the veterans do it over the winter and how they do it in the slower months, most of them will have a business line of credit that they'll allow to be able to live off of personally over those leaner winter months and that until the spring and the summer and the busier months kick in. And then that business line is paid off immediately. It's not continuing to grow. It's paid off just like the balances are on the business credit cards. Any questions on the banking side of things, the business line of credits, how you carry yourself through the winter, keeping the statements, keeping it all separately, the 2-for-1 and the travel incentives there? Any questions or thoughts?
No, very good, Wade.
Good. All right. Awesome. Now, so another thing, pay and pre-authorize everything on your debits and credits, pay them off. Now you have your statements. I've always had a bookkeeper. Another thing, I couldn't organize a 5-year-old birthday party. Just ask my wife. Okay. That is not my gift. I can throw a party like there's no tomorrow, but I can't organize the party. Does that make sense? So I've always found an independent bookkeeper. There's a single lady. I'll give her a shout out, Cher. Love her for years now. Cher, every 4 months, you guys, I'll take all my receipts in the furniture in the lobby of my, in the foyer of my house. I stick all my wallet receipts in that foyer drawer, and every 4 months I pull that drawer out, put it on the kitchen table, throw up a basketball game, do my receipts, throw them all together, and then I take them to Cher. Cher will take all my receipts, all my bank statements, put them together, put them into a statement for my accountant, and my bookkeeping and my statements and everything are always on point every 3 months, every 4 months. So I know what my profit and loss is every 3-4 months. I know that my statements and everything's tracked every 4 months and that. So it's always on point, and I'm not leaving that ugliness to have to do it all in 1 year, okay? We talked about the business line of credit and weathering those cash flow times a year. We talked about paying ourselves and writing yourself a check for home, writing yourself for business. Now, another thing that I've always done in a lesson learned is I pay the tax on the income I draw personally immediately. Pay the tax on what you're paying yourself first immediately. So I don't have to worry about where I'm going to find my income tax money in the spring, okay? It's paid immediately. So, for example, I'll be honest with you guys. It's when I was 21, I was literally paying myself $3,000 a month gross. And I was paying the tax on that immediately. So I was going to, for all intents and purposes, I was taking home every month about $2,200, $2,300 a month, okay? Now, I was also 21, and I'm going to be completely transparent and authentic here. I knew that a 21-year-old without a wife and kids and everything else making 6 figures in real estate was going to do what with his money? He was going to make it rain, right? And so I'll tell you right up front, you know what I did? I gave my mom my paychecks. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Janet Webb. I gave my mom my paychecks for 7 years until I got married in real estate so that I had a person to buffer that I wouldn't go and make it rain and spend all the money I made. And that made it so that I was able to put money away and save money. So I put a discipline. True story, when I started in real estate, when I put my broker in place, and I had my broker carry money and save my money and hold it for me. So my broker would be like, wait, hey, and I don't say this number to boast or anything. Say I've got like 90,000 in the office account. My broker would be like, do you want any of it? I'm like, get out of my office, pay me my monthly, pay me my weeklies, pay the money. Don't tell me how much is in there. I don't want to know. And I put people in place as a buffer so that I wouldn't just spend it. And it's not my money to spend. It's the business's money to have in the business. Does that make sense? And that's where the disconnect is with the agents, is that, oh, I've got this money now and it's the business's money, but it's my money. I'm going to go buy myself a new car. No, it doesn't work that way. That's the business's money, you guys. And so you have to understand, when you take the money out of the business, you got to pay the taxes on that. And then first, and then you got to look at that, and you got to leave money in that business to keep yourself afloat. So putting disciplines in, thank you, Mom. Putting disciplines in, thank you, Broker Francis. I put people in place in that so that it would allow me to be able to hold back from making it rain and spending unreasonably, because I saw the numbers that were in there, but that was the business's money, not my money personally. I hope that makes sense to you guys. So if you're like me, don't be shameful. Put another person, go to your broker, ask them to hold funds back, ask them to put a forced savings plan in place for you. It was huge for me in being able to build my wealth in the first 10 years of real estate. Trust me, it was huge. Thanks, Mom. Thanks, my broker, Francis. Okay? All right. Law number 3, invest at the end of the day. How many people know the rule of 72? Anybody heard of the rule of 72?
No.
Okay, so from an investment standpoint, guys, the rule 72 is this. If your investment, okay, is going to pay you, say 10%, if that investment's going to have a 10% return, the rule 72 is this. I don't know if you know this, but if you take 72 and divide it by the percentage of return, so we're going to use 10% return, that is the number of years. If you divide 72 by 10, that is the number of years that that investment will double itself. I don't know if you knew that. So a 72 divided by 10% investment, every 7.2 years, that 10% return investment doubles its original value, if you didn't know that. Okay? So you can tell now when you're going in investments, and let's be realistic. If we can find 6%, we're laughing. So if you find 6% investment, you know that if you divide 72 by 6%, you know that it's going to take X number of years, so about 9 years, and that investment will double itself every 9 years, if that makes sense. So I don't know if you knew that, but a lot of times I'm looking at it and figuring out, I would rather be conservative and figure out how it's doubling itself every 72 or every X number of years in that. And another tip I'm going to give you as a business person and as a person in real estate, I have only invested in real estate related and investments and things like that that I know. Right. And that, so I do max out my 401s and all those things like that. But the reality is that I'm investing in real estate, in buying real estate, what I do. I'm investing in real estate mortgages, what I do in that. I know that business. I like knowing my business, and I like knowing my investments, and I like knowing it and having that expertise knowledge. I don't feel comfortable not knowing and having that expertise about things that I'm invested in, so I don't take a lot of risk that way, okay? And I can tell you this, the real estate that I bought, the real estate mortgage that I invested in has been incredibly beneficial to me because I know it and I trust it and I get it, and I'm in control of my financial investment side of things, right? I have no control over the stocks, the markets, all that other stuff that I'm involved in, but I try to do and invest in what I know, and it's helped me huge in the past, huge. Okay, from the savings side of things, everybody's heard of the 70-10-10-10 rule, right? So the reality is for every dollar you make, you're supposed to try and live and expend personally and professionally off the 70% of it. So 70 cents you have to figure out how to live on, and then you put 10 into savings, 10 into investing, and 10 into giving. Okay? Now, I get that might, for some of you in this call, be completely unrealistic. So I'm going to challenge you today to try and do this. Create the habit. Go out today and try and live on 97 cents of every dollar you earn, and then put 1 cent into savings, 1 cent into investing, and 1 cent into giving. Okay? Right? And then build that up so that you can one day get to the point where you are, for every dollar you're earning, 70 cents is you're living on and covering your personal business on it. You're investing the 10 cents, you're saving 10 cents and giving 10 cents. If you can do this, and even if you set it up, I've set it up so that I have extra accounts in my banking system where the money just comes out of the accounts each month in 3 different accounts. So I have 3 extra online accounts that the money just comes out. And honest to goodness, guys, you don't miss that money, right? You won't miss it if it's put in there. And then the reality is here's the challenge. The Golden Goose, another story, the Golden Goose. The couple had a golden goose. It laid golden eggs. They killed the golden goose. They opened it up because they wanted to get more eggs out of it. The reality is that they killed the golden goose, and the golden goose stopped laying the golden eggs. The reality is that your investment portfolio, your saving portfolio, and your giving portfolio, that's your golden goose. Don't sell your real estate. Don't dip into those funds and don't kill that, because your goose is not going to lay golden eggs anymore if you take it and spend it and get rid of them. And that's one of the biggest problems with most people financially is when they do get a little savings, they do get a little investing, they do get a little money in there from that, they go and jump into it and get rid of it, and they kill their golden goose. So don't kill that golden goose. Practice the 70-10-10 rule, but start off with it at 97-1-1-1. Build that habit, build that, and develop that concept. You won't miss the money if you take $1 into one account each month, and that, or whatever, $10 or whatever you want in there, and pull it into those 3 accounts and watch those accounts grow and watch them duplicate and multiply. Okay, so there's your rule of 72. There's your 70-10-10-10 rule. A lot of math and investing and savings and financial side of things, but you follow those math and you follow those laws and you build your wealth. You build your wealth. Okay, so becoming a student, every time I'm with somebody that's got a lot more money than I do, I'm always picking their brain. I'm always learning. I'm always reading. I'm always studying. I'm always figuring out what it is and what they're doing and how they're doing it, okay? And so there's more gold in Babylon, my students, than you could dream of, and there's abundance for all. And the reality is that become a student of this and learn what the other people are doing and how they're doing it. Pick their brain. I'm constantly asking, what are you buying? What are you investing in? What are you trading in that? Most people, if you're in a one-on-one situation, will be more than comfortable to share what they're doing and how they did it, just like I am today. Being comfortable to tell you that their mom held their checks for them. Being comfortable to tell them that their brokers held their money. Being comfortable that they separated and went to 2 banking institutions and set up 2 accounts so it was harder to spend the money. Having it so that the monies were just automatically withdrawn out of the accounts. Anything you can learn, any tricks of the trade, like investing only in things that I know, like real estate and mortgage funds and things like that, so that I have a handle on my investment portfolio and things like that. Those are just tricks of the trade in that. So you look at it, most people today in real estate, I'm guessing a lot of people are coming from the survival standpoint. Wait, I just want to survive, okay? So what I'm going to suggest to you is the best way to start your survival process is budgets. Budgets would be your first survival step. Then you move on to stability, right? Where once you've got your budgeting and once you're covering things and once things are stable, right, then continue to do the things that you did in the survival mode to maintain that stability, okay? Then put in processes like the 70-10-10. Put in processes where you're having people hold you back, and then you start building up wealth and you get into that success mode. And then you get in a point in time, in 10 years' time, I promise you, in 10 years' time, if you follow these rules, you will be in a position where you can give your money away. You'll be able to easily and joyfully give away 10% of what you earn in that. And I can tell you that that's the ultimate feeling and the ultimate goal, when you're able to make a difference in people's lives and give that money away and that and do that. So there's the scale in that. And depending on where you are today, it doesn't matter. What you know is that you start at and you slowly build, but you always continue and follow the habits and the activities in the survival mode, in the stability mode, in the success mode. You don't stop doing those things. Don't kill the golden gooses. Don't stop pulling the monies out of the accounts. Don't stop holding people and putting mechanisms in place to help you hold your money in that. Don't blend your accounts. Don't blend all those things and go back to your old habits. Okay? That's how you'll lose the money. That's how you'll go backwards instead of forwards in that process. Okay? Any questions? And what was, guys, one thing that was the best nugget from today that you learned from the material and the tips and nuggets? One thing you love the most that you're gonna use today leaving forward from the call?
I like the idea of separating, 10-10, 10-70.
Yeah, perfect. The 70.
Like if you don't plan for it and establish it, it doesn't happen.
100%. And you honestly, if it just gets pulled out of your online accounts into other accounts and you get your bank to do that, honestly, don't notice it. I honestly, truthfully don't notice it. It's out of sight. It's out of mind. Yeah, that's awesome. Anybody else with a nugget or two from today?
So money is a tool. You have to use it, not have it control you.
Yeah, Good one. And that T. Harv Eckert seminar, they make you bring $100 bill to the seminar, and they line you all up in the room to tell you to burn the $100 bill, and there's chaos in the room. And then he tells you to sit down. And then he tells you to sit down. We don't actually burn the $100 bill, but it's a lesson in that moment where people could understand whether the money was in control of them or they were in control of the money. So my moment I'll share with you is that I was okay burning it. I thought, man, I wish I could really give this to somebody who could use the $100. But if I have to do this to prove to myself that I'm in control of money, then I'm going to burn the $100 bill. Now, it seems stupid, and there was people crying and mad and screaming and going nuts over it. It was quite the exercise. But you can, if you did that, if you just tested yourself, could you burn that $100 bill? And are you in control of money, or is the money in control of you and you're going crazy over that? It was a really interesting thing to see whether who was in control, the money or me. And it was a powerful, powerful exercise for sure.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Thanks, Wade.
Yeah, I really liked your 33% annual income thing.
Yeah.
Like what to spend on the business, because I had no idea. Like, how much do you put back in the business? I like that.
Yeah, so I was always looking at keeping that number at 33%. So I knew if I kept that close to that, then I was spending enough on my business and putting it back in, and not pulling back too much in that. And then also I wasn't overspending or underspending that. So hopefully that number will help most of you on the call establishing the value and seeing where it is. But guys, that includes what it costs you at home and at workplace, right? That 33%.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Thanks, Wade.
Fabulous week, you guys. Take care. All the best. Thanks for having me. Take care. Bye for now.
Okay. Bye.